Good morning and welcome to Coffee Talk. So, a girlfriend of mine from New Jersey, her 19-year-old daughter came home and said, "We're getting married." And she was like, "What?" So she asked me if I would do a coffee talk about marriage. I have a very honest attitude about marriage. I was never the girl who dreamed about my wedding. I was never the girl that believed in happily ever after or Prince Charming. For me, and my parents were married until my father died. So it's not, I didn't come from a broken home. I just never really needed marriage. At least maybe I didn't really know what it was, until all of a sudden I was doing it. And then I was like, oh, okay, so this is marriage. It is not easy for me. And so I want to talk about why. I'm going to be very honest about why. Marriage is it's one of the highest failure rates of anything as men and women that we try to do together. Almost 50% of marriages end in divorce. And the cost and impact of divorce on families, especially if there's children, can be devastating. I mean, obviously there are exceptions to every rule where the divorce is easy and everybody gets along and everyone's doing what's best for the kids. And I love that those happen, but more often than not, the cost and impact on the family is devastating. Well, I wanted to know, why? Why do divorces happen? Because I'm, different. I think that, I could probably stay with Michael forever, even if I wasn't in love with him anymore, because it's easier. First of all, I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it again, and I know not everybody agrees with me. This is my opinion. Love is not enough to get married. If it was, we'd be at 10% failure rate. When people marry for a linear reason, like love or lust, I don't see how it can work. I just don't see how it can work. Love should be part of the soup, but it's like making soup. You can't just have one ingredient or it's going to be boring. I just don't think love is enough. And I think sometimes, especially young people, when they go into marriage, they go, I'm going to feel this in love with you forever. And I think if you feel that in love by the end of the first month, you're doing better than most people. It ebbs and flows. So if love is all you have, also, I think that most people going into marriage don't realize how much growth happens during the rest of your life. I can only speak from the point of view of a woman, but from the time you get married until you die, so let's say you live 60 years married, so much growth is happening to you as a woman. Maybe you're starting a career or changing careers. You're buying big ticket items like homes. You're having babies. You're losing people that you love. You're burying your parents, maybe a sibling, God forbid a child. These things change you. And people don't realize, when you are changed, it changes your reaction to things. So as a partner, you guys have to constantly be changing how you deal with your partner. They get fired from a job. Okay, well, you haven't been the wife to a man who's been fired before. That changes the dynamic of your marriage because it has changed him. Your mother dies. Well, he hasn't been the husband to a woman whose mother died. It all changes. These are things you don't think about when you're getting married. You don't think about those things because you're in love. You're getting a fancy dress and you're getting to pick a wedding song. These are the things that are enticing to you at the time, not what is this man going to be like if he loses his job 5 years from now. So I thought, what is some advice I could give someone thinking about getting married? And again, I am not a romantic about marriage, so not everybody will agree with me. But the first one is sex. I'm sorry. Yes, it's first on my list. I'm not going to apologize for that. If you're married, I think everybody should have sex before they get married. That's just me. If your religion prohibits you from having sex before your wedding night, I totally get that. And I respect it. Then talk about sex a lot. Talk about what you like, what you don't like, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do, comfort zones, and frequency of sex. If one of you expects to have sex 5 nights a week, because that's what you need, and the other one thinks once a month is sufficient, that you guys need to talk about that before you get married. That will not work itself out in the wash. I promise you, I have been there and am still there, if I'm being completely honest. Michael and I have very different sex drives. I would have sex 7 days a week. That is who I am. Michael, and it's not his age. He's just like, dude, nobody needs to have sex 7 times a week. I'm like, this girl does. So that is something that we have to work on. So sex is a big deal. Don't let anybody tell you it isn't. Don't let them tell you it's not that important. They're lying. Okay. The other thing, what else did I want to say? Oh, travel. I think this is key for any young couple thinking about getting married. Plan a trip somewhere that neither one of you have been, because if one of you has already been there, then it becomes like I'm the tour guide and you're the tourist. No, then you're not on the same playing field. Both of you pay for the trip and go together so that you can see what happens when flights get canceled, hotel rooms are disgusting, when you get lost, whatever. You can really see how the other person navigates challenges in life and foreign situations, because marriage is foreign for most people. And it helps you sort of gauge how because like all of a sudden you're in the airport with your wife or wife-to-be and your flight gets canceled and she freaks out and comes over the counter at the woman who tells her the flight's canceled. You need to know if that's who you're marrying or not. The other thing is fighting. Fight with your fiance, boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, girlfriend. If you can't fight, if you just go, oh, it'll work itself out. If you swallow a lot, get your head out of the gutter. Resentment will build, and eventually it will come to a head and destroy your marriage. Don't be afraid to fight with your partner. Do it in a healthy way, but fight. Learn to work out your disagreements. Don't yell just to be heard. Fight with respect, but fight, because you have to see how the other person handles conflict and resolves it. Like, resolution is everything in marriage, because it's for better or for worse, forever and ever. Don't forget that. The other thing is family, in-laws, siblings, blah, blah, blah. I think my siblings are the most important. They're like extensions of my body, right? Meredith, Carolyn, and David. If you don't like Meredith, Carolyn, and David, you're dead to me. Michael has 4 brothers with very different personalities. I have to balance all of these boys and their needs. And in-laws, my mom lives away. I live in the same town as my in-laws. My mother-in-law and I took a long time to get on the same page, but I always treated her with respect because she brought my husband into this world and she raised him. So for better or for worse, even though we couldn't get on the same page for so long, now we are, and I adore her. She was still his mother. If you can't treat, now it's different. If they just dog you and your spouse goes like, look, I'm not going to subject you to that anymore, that's a different story. But I'm talking about, can you find a place to just be pleasant? It will help your marriage, because if the man is constantly belittling his mother-in-law, the wife is eventually going to be like, listen, you know that rule? I can talk shit about my mom, but nobody else can. That's what ends up happening. So work the differences out with the family before the wedding, if possible. And the last thing that I know that some people are going to say, Jaime, don't encourage them to live together. But I'm sorry, living together, you have to see how somebody is as a roommate, because when you're just spending a night here, spending a night there, you're essentially staying at the finest hotel because they're putting their best foot forward. A certain respect comes with living together. Certain things that one of the things that my friend Shayna in LA taught me is, she said, don't lose the respect for the relationship. So like, if you say thank you to Michael for bringing you coffee every morning, continue to do that after you get married. Don't leave the door open all of a sudden. Like, if you're the woman that shuts the door when you go to the bathroom, don't say I do, and then all of a sudden you're pooping with the door open. I'm not saying, I'm using those as examples. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. These are things that I did before the wedding. So she was saying, make sure you do them after. Carry that same respect into the marriage. So I have tried to really do that. But live together so you can see that when the love ebbs, because it will ebb then flow, that you are comfortable living with this person, that they treat you with respect on a daily basis. They put their dishes in the sink. They say thank you for things. They contribute. Because if you're living with someone before the wedding and he never lifts a finger, or she sits around like a queen expecting you to do everything, that is who you're marrying. So own it. I would love to hear your thoughts on marriage if you agree with me or disagree with me, and I'm sure some of you will, but I would love to hear it. Happy Saturday. I love you today. Have a great day.